Still under political law, the legislative department. Legislative power under Section 1 of Article 6. The legislative power shall be vested in the Congress of the Philippines, which shall consist of a Senate and a House of Representatives, except to the extent reserved to the people by the provision on initiative and referendum. Derivative legislative power is that which has been delegated by the sovereign people to legislative bodies such as the Congress and is subordinate to the original power of the people. Legislative power is plenary in character. The grant of legislative power to Congress is broad, general, and comprehensive. The legislative body possesses plenary power for all purposes of civil government. Any power deemed to be legislative by usage and tradition is necessarily possessed by Congress unless the Constitution has lodged it somewhere else. Except as limited by the Constitution, either expressly or impliedly, legislative power embraces all subjects and extends to all matters of general concern or common interest. The principle of non-delegability. This principle came from Delegata potestas non potest delegari, which means that what has been delegated can no longer be delegated. The rationale behind is that since the powers of the government have been delegated to them by the people who possesses original sovereignty, these powers cannot be further delegated by the different government departments to some other branch or instrumentality of the government. So generally, only the Congress as a body may exercise legislative power. Exemption to non-delegability. First, the power of legislation is delegated to the local governments. The local governments, as an immemorial practice, may be allowed to legislate on purely local matters. Second, those constitutionally grafted presidential exceptions, such as emergency power delegated to the executive during a state of war or national emergency, and in certain taxing powers of the president. The Congress may authorize the President to fix, within specified limits and subject to such limitations and restrictions as may impose tariff rates, import and export quotas, tonnage and wharfage dues, and other duties and imposed within the framework of the National Development Program of the government. Another exemption on non-delegability is the extent reserved to the people by the provision on initiative and referendum. Section 1. The legislative power shall be vested in the Congress of the Philippines, which shall consist the Senate and the House of Representatives, except to the extent reserved to the people by the provision on initiative and referendum. Non-delegability of legislative power on the principle of rule-making power of implementing agencies. So strictly speaking, what is delegated is not law-making power but the rule-making power, which is limited to the filling up of the details of the law or ascertaining facts to bring the law into actual operation. The tests for valid delegation. As a rule, there is a valid delegation of legislative power when it passes the following test: the completeness test and the sufficient standard test. When we say completeness test, the law sets forth the policy to be executed, carried out, or implemented by the delegate, such that there is nothing left for the delegate to do but to enforce the law itself. And on the sufficient standard test, the standard is sufficient if it defines the legislative policy, marks its limits, maps out its boundaries, and specifies the public agency to apply it. It indicates the circumstances under which the legislative command is to be effected. The standard must specify the limits of the delegate's authority, announce the legislative policy, and identify the conditions under which it is to be implemented, such as public interest, justice and equity, simplicity, sufficiency, and economy. The initiative and referendum. Initiative refers to the power of the people to propose amendments to the Constitution or to propose and enact legislation through an election called for that purpose. The kinds of initiative under the Initiative and Referendum Act of 6735. Initiative on the Constitution. It refers to a petition proposing amendments to the Constitution. Initiative on Statutes refers to a petition to enact national legislation, and initiative on local legislation, which refers to a petition proposing to enact a regional, provincial, municipal, city, or barangay law, resolution, or ordinance. RA 6735 provides for indirect initiative, which is the exercise of initiative by the people through a proposition sent to the Congress or the local legislative body for action, and direct initiative, where the people themselves files the petition with the COMELEC and not with the Congress. However, the Supreme Court held that RA 6735 provisions are inadequate. The Act does not provide for the contents of a petition for initiative on the Constitution. The use of the clause proposed laws sought to be enacted, approved or rejected, amended or repealed denotes that 6735 excludes initiative on the amendments of the Constitution. Also, while the law provides subtitles for the national initiative and referendum and for local initiative and referendum, no subtitle is provided for the initiative on the Constitution. This means that the main thrust of the law is initiative and referendum on national and local laws only. If RA 6735 were intended to fully provide for the implementation of the initiative on amendments to the Constitution, it could have been provided for a subtitle, considering that in order of things, the primacy of interest or hierarchy of values, the right of the people to directly propose amendments to the Constitution is far more important than the initiative on national and local laws. This is from the case of Miriam Defensor Santiago versus Comelec. Referendum. Referendum refers to the power of the electorate to approve or reject legislation through an election called for that purpose. We have the kinds of referendum: referendum on statutes, which refers to the petition to approve or reject a law, a part thereof, passed by the Congress. Referendum on local law refers to a petition to approve or reject a law, resolution, or ordinance enacted by regional assemblies and local legislative bodies. What is the distinction between initiative and referendum? The distinction lies on the scope or extent of exercise. While initiative covers proposals on amendments to the Constitution and proposals and enactment of laws, referendum is limited to approval or rejection of legislation. Referendum. Limitation on the exercise of initiative and referendum. First, no petition embracing more than one subject shall be submitted to the electorate, and 2. Statutes involving emergency measures, the enactment which are specifically vested in Congress by the Constitution, cannot be subjected to referendum until 90 days after their effectivity. The Chambers of Congress, its composition and qualifications. For the Senate. The Senate of each Congress acts separately and independently of the Senate of the Congress before it. Due to the termination of the business of the Senate during the expiration of one Congress, all pending matters and proceedings such as unpassed bills and even legislative investigations of the Senate are considered terminated upon the expiration of that Congress, and is merely optional on the Senate of the succeeding Congress to take up such unfinished matters, not in the same status but as if it was presented for the first time. Section 2. The Senate shall be composed of 24 senators who shall be elected at large by the qualified voters of the Philippines as may be provided by law. No person shall be a senator unless he is a natural-born citizen of the Philippines and on the day of the election is at least 35 years of age, able to read and write, a registered voter, and a resident of the Philippines for not less than 2 years immediately preceding the day of the election. The term of office of senators shall be 6 years and shall commence, unless otherwise provided by law, at noon on the 30th day of June next following their election. No senator shall serve for more than 2 consecutive terms. Voluntary renunciation of the office for any length of time shall not be considered as an interruption in the continuity of his service for the full term of which he was elected. For the House of Representatives, the House shall be composed of not more than 250 members, unless otherwise fixed by law, who shall be elected from legislative districts apportioned among the provinces, cities, and metropolitan Manila area in accordance with the number of their respective inhabitants, and on the basis of a uniform and progressive ratio, and those who, as provided by law, shall be elected through a party list system of registered national, regional, and sectoral parties or organizations. The party list representatives shall constitute 20% of the total number of representatives, including those under the party list. For 3 consecutive terms after the ratification of this Constitution, one-half of the seats allocated to party list representatives shall be filled, as provided by law, by selection or election from the labor, peasant, urban poor, indigenous cultural communities, women, youth, and such other sectors as may be provided by law, except for religious sector. Each legislative district shall comprise, as far as practicable, contiguous, compact, and adjacent territory. Each city with a population of at least 250,000 or each province shall have at least one representative. So for cities, you must have at least 250,000 population, and for province, there is no such a requirement. Each province will have at least one representative. Within 3 years following the return of every census, the Congress shall make a reapportionment of legislative districts based on the standards provided in this section. No person shall be a member of the House of Representatives unless he is a natural-born citizen of the Philippines and on the day of the election is at least 25 years of age, able to read and write, and except the party list representative, a registered voter in the district in which he shall be elected, and a resident thereof for a period of not less than 1 year immediately preceding the day of the election. The members of the House of Representatives shall be elected for a term of 3 years, which shall begin, unless otherwise provided by law, at noon of the 30th day of June next following their election. No member of the HOR shall serve for more than 3 consecutive terms. Voluntary renunciation of the office for any length of time shall not be considered as an interruption in the continuity of his service for the full term for which he was elected. The rules on apportionment of legislative districts. Apportionment of legislative districts must be by law, which could be a general apportionment law or a special law, such as creation of new provinces. Note that the power to apportion legislative districts is actually committed to Congress by the Constitution. Thus, it cannot be validly delegated to the ARMM Regional Assembly. This was from the case of SEMA versus COMELEC. Under the Constitution and the LGC, apportionment and reapportionment do not require a plebiscite. Proportional representation based on the number of inhabitants. So each city with a population of at least 250,000 shall have at least one representative, and each province, irrespective of the number of inhabitants, shall have at least one representative. There is no fixed 250,000 is to 1 ratio. The 250,000 is simply the minimum population requirement, and a city with 450,000 may have 2 congressional districts. Each legislative district shall comprise, as far as practicable, contiguous, compact, and adjacent territory. This is the anti-gerrymandering provision. Reapportionment by Congress within 3 years after the return of each census. Note that apportionment refers to the determination of the number of representatives which a state, county, or other subdivisions may send to a legislative body, while reapportionment refers to the realignment or change in the legislative districts brought about by changes in population and mandated by the constitutional requirement of equality of representation. The party list system. They shall constitute 20% of the total number of representatives elected through a party list system of registered national, regional, and sectoral parties or organizations. Sectoral representatives. For 3 consecutive terms from February to 1987, one-half of the party list seats shall be allotted to sectoral representatives to be chosen by appointment or election, as may be provided by law. Until a law is passed, they are appointed by the President from a list of nominees by the respective sectors. Note that the party list system is not synonymous with sectoral representation. The Atong, the Atong Paglaom Guidelines. Three different parties and organizations may participate in the party list system. It may either be national, regional, or sectoral. The national and regional parties or organizations do not need to organize along sectoral lines or represent any marginalized and underrepresented sector. Political parties may participate in the party list system provided they register under the party list system and they do not field candidates in legislative district elections. A party that participates in the legislative district elections may still participate in the party list through a sectoral wing. The sectoral wing can be part of the political party's coalition, but the former must be registered independently in the party list system. The sectoral parties or organizations may either be marginalized or underrepresented, such as labor, peasant, fisherfolk, women, or those lacking in well-defined political constituents, such as professionals, women, elderly, and youth. The nominees of sectoral parties or organizations of either type must belong to their respective sectors or have a track record of advocacy for their respective sectors. Majority of the members of the sectoral party of either type must belong to the sector they represent. National, regional, or sectoral parties or organizations shall not be disqualified if some of their nominees are disqualified, provided they have at least one nominee who remains to be qualified. Who are the disqualified parties? Religious sects, foreign organizations, those advocating violence or unlawful means, those receiving support from any foreign government, foreign political party, foundation, organization, whether directly or through any of its officers or members, or indirectly through third parties for partisan election purposes. Those violating or failing to comply with laws, rules, or regulations relating to elections, declaring untruthful statements in its petition, those who cease to exist for at least 1 year, or those failing to participate in the last two preceding elections, or fails to obtain at least 2% of the vote cast under the party list system in two preceding elections for the constituency in which it has registered. Who are the qualified sectors? Note that this qualification applies only to sectoral parties. Participating national or regional parties did not fall under any of these sectors. Labor, peasant, fisherfolk, urban poor, indigenous cultural communities, elderly, handicapped, women, youth, veterans, overseas workers, and professionals. The four parameters of the party list system: 20% allocation of the total number of the membership of the House of Representatives is the maximum number of seats available to a party list organization. The 2% threshold, those garnering 2% of the total vote cast in a party list election, guarantees a party list organization one seat. Additional seats, that is, the remaining seats after allocation of the guaranteed seats, shall be distributed to the party list organizations, including those that receive less than 2% of the total votes. This distribution will continue until all the seats have been filled. However, there is a three-seat capacity. It is intended by the legislature to prevent any party from dominating the party list system, ensuring that no single party or group can occupy more than 3 seats in the House of Representatives through the party list system. The declaration of the existence of a state of war. In times of war or other national emergency, the Congress may by law authorize the President for a limited period and subject to such restrictions as it may prescribe to exercise powers necessary and proper to carry out a declared national policy. Unless sooner withdrawn by resolution of the Congress, such powers shall cease upon the next adjournment thereof. The Congress may delegate legislative powers to the President in times of war or in other national emergencies. The voting requirement to declare the existence of a state of war is two-thirds vote of both houses in a joint session voting separately. Legislative privileges, inhibitions, and disqualifications. For their salaries, it shall be determined by law, and no increase in said compensation shall take effect until after the expiration of the full term of all the members of the Senate and the HOR approving such increase. Freedom from arrest. A senator or a member of the House shall, in all offenses punishable by not more than 6 years' imprisonment, be privileged from arrest while the Congress is in session. Regardless of the whereabouts of the senator or member of the House, freedom from arrest holds so long as Congress is in session. Applicability. The freedom from arrest applies only to offenses punishable by not more than 6 years of imprisonment. Speech and Debate Clause. No member shall be questioned nor be held liable in any other place for any speech or debate in the Congress or in any committee thereof. What is covered under this provision is anything a member of the Congress says in line with his legislative function, such as his speeches, utterances, his bills signed, the votes he passed. While the immunity of a member of a Congress is absolute, and thus even the Supreme Court cannot discipline a lawyer senator for remarks made against the court during a privileged speech, it does not shield said member from the authority of Congress to discipline its own members. May not hold any office or employment in the government during his term without forfeiting his seat. So this is called the incompatible office. The forfeiture of the seat in Congress shall be automatic upon a member's assumption of such office deemed incompatible. Under the non-synchronized terms of the 1973 Constitution, when a governor-elect was elected to the Batasang Pambansa and he could not hold both the offices of governor and MP. Note that the office of the Philippine National Red Cross chairman is not a government office or an office in a government-owned or controlled corporation for purposes of this prohibition. But note that the structure of PNRC is a sui generis, being neither strictly private nor public in nature. This is in the case of Gordon, where he was elected as a chairman of the Philippine National Red Cross while he is sitting as a member of the Senate. The prohibition for the incompatible office does not apply. He may not also be appointed to any office created or whose emoluments were increased during the term for which he was elected. Forbidden office. This is a forbidden office. So one to which a member cannot be appointed even if he is willing to give up his seat in Congress. The effect of his resignation from the Congress is the loss of his seat therein, but his disqualification for the forbidden office nevertheless remains. He shall not be financially interested directly on or indirectly in any contract with or franchise or special privilege granted by the government during his term of office. He shall not also intervene in any matter before any office of the government when it is his pecuniary benefit or where he may be called upon to act on account of his office. The pork barrel system runs afoul of Section 14, Article 6 because in allowing legislators to intervene in the various phases of project implementation is a matter before another office of government, renders them susceptible to taking undue advantage of their own office. In pork barrel system, the Senate and the members of the House were given the power to implement or use the money or the budget given to them, which is supposed to be for the executive branch. They shall not also intervene in any matter before any office of the government when it is his pecuniary benefit or where he may be called upon to act on account of his office. This prohibition is absolute. Thus, when an assemblyman acting as counsel for one group in an internal dispute in a company was denied leave to intervene, the court held that his action of buying 10 stocks in order to be able to intervene in that company's dispute as a stockholder was an indirect violation of this rule and still unconstitutional. The duty to disclose. Statements of assets, liabilities, and net worth or SALN. A public officer or employee shall, upon assumption of office and as often thereafter as may be required by law, submit a declaration under oath all his assets, liabilities, and net worth. In the case of the President, the Vice President, the members of the Cabinet, the Congress, the Supreme Court, the constitutional commissions and other constitutional offices, and officers of the armed forces with general or flag rank, the declaration shall be disclosed to the public in the manner provided by law. Financial and business interest, political conflict of interest. All members of the Senate and the House shall, upon assumption of office, make a full disclosure of their financial and business interests. Amounts paid to or expenses incurred by each member. The records and books of accounts of the Congress shall be preserved and be open to the public in accordance with law, and such books shall be audited by the Commission on Audit, which shall publish annually an itemized list of amounts paid to and expenses incurred for each member. The quorum and voting majorities. The House shall constitute a quorum to do business, but a smaller number may adjourn from day to day and may compel the attendance of absent members in such a manner and under such penalties as such House may provide. In computing a quorum, members who are outside the country, thus outside of each House's coercive jurisdiction, are not included. Majority shall take into consideration the number of members within the jurisdiction of the Congress, those it can order arrested for the purpose of questioning. One senator was out. This was the case of Avellino versus Cuenco. When one senator was out of the Philippines and another senator abroad was not within the jurisdiction of the Senate, so that the working majority was 23 senators, inclusive of the hospitalized senator. There is a difference between majority of all members of the House and majority of the House, the latter requiring less number than the first. Therefore, an absolute majority, 12 of the members of the Senate, less 1, constitutes a constitutional majority of the Senate for the purposes of the quorum. For each House of Congress to pass a bill, only the votes of the majority of those present in the session, there being a quorum, is required, except when votes where requirement is based on all the members of the Congress, the requirement is based on the entire composition of the House or Congress or in its entirety, regardless of the number of members present or absent. Discipline of members. Each House may determine the rules of its proceedings, punish its members for disorderly behavior, and with the concurrence of two-thirds of all its members, suspend or expel a member. A penalty of suspension, when imposed, shall not exceed 60 days. Each House may punish its member for disorderly behavior and with the concurrence of two-thirds of all its members, with suspension, expulsion, or other measures not necessarily requiring two-thirds and depending on voting thresholds determined by the respective houses, such as deletion of unparliamentary remarks from the record, fine, imprisonment, and censure. The suspension contemplated in the Constitution is different from the suspension prescribed in the Anti-Graft and Corrupt Practices. The former is punitive in nature while the latter is preventive. The lawmaking process. As to title of bills, every bill passed by the Congress shall embrace only one subject which shall be expressed in the title thereof. The one subject, one title rule prevents hodgepodge or the log rolling or the smuggling in of riders, that is, any act containing several subjects dealing with unrelated matters representing diverse interests. This is to prevent surprise or fraud upon the legislature, and to fairly apprise the people of the subjects of legislation that are being considered in order that they may have the opportunity of being heard thereon, by petition or otherwise if they should so desire. But the title need not be complete catalogue of a bill. In any case, a title must not be so uncertain that the average person reading it would not be informed of the purpose of the enactment. And when there is conflict, the title of the bill is controlling over any contradictory provision on the law, which or whose title says regulating but has a provision which says prohibiting. Generally, there are three ways for the bill to become a law: one, by signature when it is approved by the President; two, by the lapse of time upon the failure of the President to veto the bill and to return with his objections to the House where it originated within 30 days after the date of his receipt; or three, by congressional override, when the vote of the President is overridden by a when the veto of the President is overridden by the two-thirds votes of all the members of both houses. The President's veto power. Section 27, Article 6 defines the only way for the President to veto a bill. When the President vetoes a measure, he should return the measure to the House of Origin, indicating his objections thereto in what is commonly known as veto message, so that the same may be studied by the members for possible overriding of his veto. Generally, the President must approve a bill in its entirety or disapprove it in toto. Exception: item veto. In appropriation, revenue, and tariff bills, any particular item or items of which may be disapproved without affecting the item or items to which he does not object. However, the condition in an expenditure bill cannot be vetoed separately from the items to which they relate so long as they are appropriate in the budgetary sense. Congressional override. To override the President's veto, at least two-thirds of all members of each House must agree to pass the bill. In such case, the veto is overridden and the bill becomes a law without the need of presidential approval. The doctrine of inappropriate provision. A provision that is constitutionally inappropriate for the appropriation bill may be singled out for veto even if it is not an appropriation or revenue item. Example, as an inappropriate provision: a provision in the GAA requiring the President to first submit to Congress a list of equipment in the executive will purchase before the appropriation is released. This is inappropriate provision as it constitutes legislative veto and post-enactment interferences with the executive. An example of an appropriate provision: the veto of a clause in the GAA which places of a 30% limit on the DPWH budget for road maintenance that can be contracted out. This is appropriate and cannot be item vetoed as Congress can set pre-implementation limits on how expenditures shall be spent. Electoral tribunals. There are two types: the Senate Electoral Tribunal or the SET and the House Electoral Tribunal or the HRET. Composition: three justices of the Supreme Court designated by the Chief Justice. The senior justice shall be the chairman and the six members of the Senate or House of Representatives. Yun. The presence of the three justices is meant to tone down the political nature of the cases involved and do away with the impression that party interests play a part in the decision-making processes. The HRET rules requires the presence of at least one justice and four members of the tribunal to constitute a quorum. This means that even when all the justices are present, at least two members of the House need to be present to constitute a quorum. Without this rule, it would be possible for five members of the House to convene and have a quorum even when no justice is present. So the basis is the proportional representation from the political parties and party lists. What is the nature of electoral tribunals? Although the electoral tribunals are predominantly legislative membership and the provision creating them is found in Article 6 on legislative department, it is not correct to say that they are mere adjuncts of Congress of the Philippines. In fact, in the discharge of their constitutional duties, they are independent of the legislature and also of the other departments for that matter. What are their powers? The electoral tribunals of the House of Congress shall be the sole judge of all contests relating to election, returns, and qualifications of their members. The decision of the electoral tribunals may be reviewed by the Supreme Court only upon showing grave abuse of discretion in a petition for certiorari filed under Rule 65 of the Rules of Court. The HRET may assume jurisdiction only after the winning candidate or who is a party to the election controversy shall have been duly proclaimed, has taken his oath of office, and has assumed the functions of the office, because it is only then that he is said to be a member of the House. So, if the member of the Congress has not been duly proclaimed, has not taken his oath, or has not assumed the functions of his office, the tribunal who has the jurisdiction for election contests is still the COMELEC, because for the electoral tribunal, the SET or the HRET, to acquire jurisdiction, the the winning candidate must have been proclaimed, has taken his oath, and has assumed the functions of his office. The Commission on Appointments. The nature is revived in the 1987 Constitution to limit once again the President's appointing power. Its composition: the Senate President as the ex officio chairman, 12 senators, and 12 members of the House of Representatives. The 12 senators and 12 members of the House are elected by each House on the basis of proportional representation. The Senate President shall not vote except in case of a tie. A political party must have at least 2 elected senators for every seat in the Commission on Appointments. It is not mandatory to elect 12 senators to the Commission. What the Constitution requires is that there must be at least majority of the entire membership. The powers of the Commission on Appointments. The Commission shall act on all appointments submitted to it within 30 session days of Congress from their submission. The Commission shall rule by majority vote of its members, and shall meet only while Congress is in session, at the call of its chairman or majority of all its members. The Commission is independent of the two houses of Congress. Its employees are not technically employees of Congress. It has the power to promulgate its own rules of proceeding. The powers of the Commission do not come from the Congress but emanate directly from the Constitution. Hence, it is not an agent of the Congress, and in fact, the functions of the Commissioner are purely executive in nature. Regular appointments. This takes place when the President appoints an officer whose appointment requires confirmation by the Commission while Congress is in session. Ad interim or recess appointment happens when the Congress is not in session. The powers of the Congress. Legislative inquiries. Requisites of a legislative inquiry. It must be in aid of legislation. It is in accordance with duly published rules of procedure, and the right of the person appearing in or affected by such inquiries shall be respected. Note that the appearance of executive officials is generally mandatory in legislative inquiries. The next power is oversight functions, or question hour. The topic is on any matter pertaining to the subject's department. The person subjected in question hour is the heads of the department, and the appearance of executive officials is via request or upon executive officials' volition with President's consent. Executive privilege. Executive privilege is the right of the President and high-level officials authorized by her to withhold information from Congress, from the courts, and ultimately from the public. Among the types of information which have been judicially recognized as privilege are state secrets regarding military, diplomatic, and other national security matters. Certain information in the possession of the executive may validly be claimed as privilege even against Congress, such as presidential conversations, correspondences, or discussions during closed-door cabinet meetings. So who may invoke executive privilege? It is only the President that can invoke it. She may also authorize the Executive Secretary to invoke the privilege on her behalf, in which case the Executive Secretary must state that the act is by order of the President, which means that he personally consulted with the President on such matter of concern. The claim of privilege must be specific whether the information sought to be withheld involves military or diplomatic secrets, closed-door cabinet meetings, etc. A claim of privilege, being a claim of exception from an obligation to disclose information, must be clearly asserted. The Congress has the right to know why the executive considers the requested information privilege. It does not suffice to merely declare that the President or our authorized head of office has determined that it is so. If the President and the Congress cannot agree on whether the matter is privileged or not, then the court must come in to determine the validity of the claim of privilege. The elements of presidential communications. The protected communication must relate to a quintessential and non-delegable presidential power. The communication must be authored or solicited and received by a close advisor of the President or by the President himself. The judicial test is that an advisor must be in operational proximity with the President. The presidential communications privilege remains a qualified privilege that may be overcome by a showing of adequate need, such that information sought likely contains important evidence, and by the unavailability of the information elsewhere by an appropriate investigating authority. The contempt power of the legislature. As long as there is a legitimate inquiry, then the inherent power of contempt by the Senate may be properly exercised. Conversely, once the legislative inquiry concludes, the exercise of the inherent power of contempt ceases, and there is no more genuine necessity to penalize and detain the witness. As the Senate is not a continuing body, all inquiries automatically end once the Senate adjourns sine die. The imprisonment of the contempt automatically terminates on such date as well. The power of impeachment. The House of Representatives shall have the exclusive power to initiate all cases of impeachment. Public office is a public trust, and public officers and employees must at all times be accountable to the people, serve them with utmost responsibility, integrity, loyalty, and efficiency, act with patriotism and justice, and lead modest lives. Who are the impeachable officers? The President, the Vice President, the members of the Supreme Court, the members of the Constitutional Commissions, and the Ombudsman may be removed from office by impeachment. And the grounds are conviction of culpable violation of the Constitution, treason, bribery, graft and corruption, and other high crimes, or betrayal of public trust. All other public officers and employees may be removed from office as provided by law, but not by impeachment. So who may initiate impeachment? It is the House of Representatives who has the exclusive power to initiate all cases of impeachment. Impeachment in a nutshell. So a verified complaint for impeachment may be filed by any member of the House or by any citizen upon a resolution or endorsement by any member thereof, which shall be included in the order of business within 10 session days and referred to the proper committee within 3 session days thereafter. The committee, after hearing and by a majority vote of all its members, shall submit its reports to the House within 60 session days from such referral, together with the corresponding resolution. The resolution shall be calendared for the consideration by the House within 10 session days from the receipt thereof. And a vote of at least one-third of all the members of the House shall be necessary either to affirm a favorable resolution with the articles of impeachment of the committee or override its contrary resolution. The vote of each member shall be recorded. In case the verified complaint or resolution of impeachment is filed by at least one-third of all the members of the House, the same shall constitute the articles of impeachment, and trial by Senate shall forthwith proceed. The power of impeachment. Initiation means filing coupled with referral to the Committee on Justice. The Congress shall promulgate its rules on impeachment to effectively carry out the purpose of this section. No impeachment proceeding shall be initiated against the same official more than once within a period of 1 year. And the court cannot make a determination of what constitutes an impeachable offense because it is purely a political question. The trial. The Senate shall have the sole power to try and decide all cases of impeachment. By virtue of the expanded judicial review, the court's power of judicial review extends over justiciable issues arising in impeachment proceedings. But the question of whether or not the Senate impeachment rules were followed is a political question. The rules on appropriation and realignment. Appropriation means to allot, assign, set apart, or apply to a particular use or purpose. An appropriation is in the sense of the Constitution means the setting apart a portion of public funds for a purpose. Transfer of appropriations. Generally, the transfer of items of appropriations cannot be inserted as provisions in appropriation laws, except appropriation law may authorize the following officials to augment any item from their office from savings in other items of their appropriations: the President, the Senate President, the Speaker of the House, the Chief Justice, the heads of the Constitutional Commission. But there are requisites for a valid transfer of appropriation, and first, there must be a savings in the programmed appropriation of the transferring agency. And two, there must be an existing item, project, or activity with an appropriation in the receiving agency to which the savings will be transferred.